YouTubers, happy Homebrew Wednesday. Welcome to my first brew day. I'm back in the saddle after having not brewed for a little over 3 months, almost 4 months, since March, due to my daughter being born and the anticipation of my daughter being born, and then afterwards having to get used to having a child. So what we're brewing today is a little ambitious, not too complicated, but I'll let you know why it's ambitious in a second. So we're brewing is 2 beers. We're brewing a American Pale Ale and a Saison. So the beer is going to be called a BITS IPA, and the other one BITS Saison, or BITS stands for Back in the Saddle. So because I'm using the same wort for both beers, I thought I'd just come up with an acronym to have them both be part of the, 2 beers together with the similar name. So the step I'm on now is collecting my second runnings. I've mashed out, and now I'm collecting my second runnings, and I have the first 4 gallons in my older kettle, because the ambitious part is going to be blending about 13 gallons or so of wort to get 6.5 per boil or so, and doing it evenly and and fluidly, so I don't burn myself or get too uneven of a pre-boiled gravity between the 2 kettles. So so for the beer, I might do 2 of his beers in this video, but for the first beer review of this video, I'm going to be doing this from Dan ABA. I know he wants to review his cherry sour, but I really want to try a Solera first. So this is from June of 2014, so a little over 2 years ago. It was one of his first pulls from the Solera. So I just chilled it down, poured it into my Hill Farmstead glass. Very nice, nicely carved, really pale color, which I assumed it would be. Let's stop it there. Pouring a nice big head. So as you see, it's a nice, slightly cloudy, but it's probably some chilled haze and some yeast in suspension. A nice fluffy white head. Very, not too sour. Some that nice barnyardy funk, almost American wild ale, or even goozy, that like really raw barnyard funk, but not too intense. A little bit of lemon, some stone fruit, maybe a little peach in there. Yeah, a little bit of peach, maybe a little bit of apricot, like a sweet, sweet stone fruit, but not too sweet. It smells pretty dry, so let's go on further with the taste. Cheers, Dan, and cheers to you guys. Welcome. Be back to being back in the saddle of brewing again. Cheers. Alright, so the one beer that I had from Dan before this one was his loquat sour, and immediately upon first sip, it tastes different because doesn't have that much raw citrus, kumquat, loquat, fruitiness up front, but it has a similar, complex, stone fruit, funk, blonde sour taste. What I like about Dan's sours is that they're really intense with the tartness, but yet in the finish, what I've had with some, like my sour my tart 10 Saison, where it's so tart, they really dries out the back of your palate. This is like really nice, on par with like any craft brewery, producing a nice sour blonde ale. But for me, what does it is there's like a nice sweetness at mid palate, and there's that nice lemony and stone fruity flavor that mixes with that sweetness, and it really lingers on your tongue. Really, really well done. And it's not as tart as a loquat sour, I should say that. That one was a little no too tart on some sips. And Dan said that he's still figuring out how to not dry beers out too much, or not sour beers too much when adding fruit to his sour. So overall, for the first review, this is amazing. I wish I could brew a sour this good. Overall, really balanced, really tart, enough tartness for people like me who love sours, but yet balanced enough at mid palate to really make it a really nice drink, a really nice beer to like sip on a really hot day like today while you're brewing. Cool yourself off. So cheers, and we'll go on to more of the video. Cheers. Alright, brew tubers, so I decided to do this portion of the review of the mash and sparge vlog style, just to kind of make it easier to not make the clip go so long. So right now I have both kettles fired up, so it means that I'm done, obviously, with the mash and sparge. So as a review of my first mash back from almost 4 months, pretty much hiatus from brewing, it was a complete success, except for one little mishap, which I'll say in a second. So the way I blended them can be easily explained by my 2 buckets that I used down here to collect, which I moved out of the kitchen to wipe up the mess, which I'll tell you about in a second. So as you see here on my newer bottling bucket, it has half-gallon gradations, but my other fermenter bucket doesn't. So what I did was I collected 8 gallons in, and I put the first 8 gallons in my older kettle, and then I knew I wanted about 13 gallons, so then I went on and sparged and got another 5 gallons in the fermenter bucket. And then after that I mixed the first 8 gallons and split it between the 2 kettles. And I did it carefully because I know that with my usual collecting that I usually go a little smidge over. Whenever I collect like 4 gallons at a time, it's always a touch over. So I made sure that it didn't just take 4 gallons from the old kettle and then put it in the newer kettle. Say, okay, it's split. I took out whatever was left over. It was another 1/4 gallon, so I put that aside, and then I split and mixed up and split the other 5 gallons by using the bottling bucket to split it exactly 2.5 gallons. And then I took gravity readings from each pot, and I actually went over my pre-boil target, which was 1046, and I hit 1050 at about 13 gallons. So what I did was I took the extra quart from the original older kettle, and I split it 2 cups and 2 cups into each kettle. Now it's not going to bring it down 5 points, but for now I don't think that another 1/4 gallon or so is going to make a huge difference. So I was going to do a 75-minute boil. So in order not to go crazy over my 1056 target, I'm just going to do a 60-minute boil, and then if I choose to dilute, I'll have a little more leeway than if I were to do a 75 or a 90-minute boil. So over here in my living room, I have both yeast starters going for the Saison and the IPA. So I don't have 2 stir plates, so the IPA with the Wyeast London L3 1318, which I thankfully got this time, is going on the stir plate. And then in this, my smaller flask, I have the yeast-based Saison Blend 2, which is the Saison strains that they use in the Farmhouse Sour Ale, which I've used before. So it'd be cool. I just wanted to test that out and see how it comes out without the lacto in it. So the one mess that happened was that at some point while I was splitting things, I took the hose from my old kettle and put it over the top of the kettle, and so it wouldn't hang on the floor. But I somehow forgot to shut the ball valve. So when I was, at one point I knocked the hose out and wart started getting on the floor, and luckily I recovered before it got too bad, and so maybe I'll have a little less Saison, but I was able to again add those 2 cups back after I took the OG, so the pre-boil gravity. So we'll see what happens in the end. There's only 2 pounds of Pilsner malt total, so I'm not really worried about doing an extended boil. Hey Brew Tubers, Barry here. I'll start this clip by apologizing that I didn't really film much of Brew Day. I really wanted to concentrate on my overall brewing practices, having not brewed in about 4 months. So where we're at now is we're chilling down the IPA since that was the second boil. And it sat for a little over an hour waiting to chill, but kept it mostly covered, so I don't think it's going to get, and it stayed pretty warm. It's not going to get infected. One thing I did do to it late, before it got below 180, after towards the end of the whirlpool, I added the gypsum and the calcium chloride that I forgot in earlier. So luckily it was still hot enough to really, sanitize those salts, those minerals, and I could still get that because I really didn't want to forget them. Now that I finally got to use the Y yeast London L3, which is the yeast that is used by a lot of the New England IPA brewers, homebrewers, and craft alike, especially Hill Farmstead. And again, since I finally got my hands on it, I wanted to make the beer, having all the, checked all the boxes that people will use, which are the oats, the wheat, and the yeast strain, and the juicy hops. A pretty good brew day. And in terms of OG, at least for the Saison, which is now, as you can see in the carboy, which is going to be fermenting, in my, just out in the free range, because I'm really not in the mood for the exchanging water bottles thing. And because it's Saison, it can ferment warmer. I'll keep it in my living room, which during the day my wife is usually home nowadays because she's looking for work. That's her maternity leave ends. And the AC will be on in there, so it won't get too hot in the apartment, at least during the day. So yeah, but so once we'd finished chilling down, and now, as you see, as I said, I was chilling down with IPA, and usually what I would do is the opposite. I would use the pump with the ice towards the end, but since I already had it in to finish off the Saison, I thought I'd do it the reverse for the IPA. And after putting in the rest of the ice, we were at about like 94 degrees. So I'll try to get it down as much as I can in the next, half hour or so, and then worst to worst, before I pitch the yeast, I'll what's it called? I'll get it chilled down in the fermentation fridge, and then pitch the yeast once it gets down to like 65 degrees. So, hey Brew Tubers, Barry here for part of Homebrew Wednesday, since I didn't film Summer Brew Day. So I've been chatting with Dan ABA tonight. I'm asking him about when to add oak to my sours, since I'm probably moving to another apartment at the end of the summer. And I'm probably going to need to bottle up my 3 sours, my Frankenbeer, my dark sour, and my 1 gallon of quad wort, and some of the Allagash slurry. I went to add the oak, the 2 medium plus oak spirals that you say added, and then I have half a bottle of a 2012 Merlot that I drank some of this past weekend. I'm filming this on July 4th, Monday. Then I decided to add it because I really like the wine, and I really want to see what it does with the dark sour flavor. So after asking him that question, I went to add the wine. He said he added them at the same time, so I'm here reopening the carboy, and I'm just gonna pour in the wine so slowly against the wall of the top of the carboy, just to avoid splashing, even though the oxygen is being added by the spirals already. As you can see, a lot of CO2 is being, and oxygen is being released from solution from that. You can really smell a really nice sour funk coming out of this carboy, so I'm really happy with that. I haven't tasted it yet. It's been like almost 6 months already. So now I'm just gonna, like I did after the spirals, I'm gonna re-sanitize the top of the carboy, re-sanitize the bung, even though it was just re-sanitized a few minutes ago. So that's the update with these beers. As you can see, the pellicle on the Frankenbeer, what used to be much bigger than that, went up and down, but it's still looking pretty good, nice and dark. So we'll see how that comes out. And then the dark sour has a little bit of pellicle material there. You can see that there's carousing from fermentation, but not real much on top right now. So we'll see how these sours turn out. But this dark sour, it's big, full 6 gallons, is what my real baby. These are just experiments, and this is my real first batch, full batch of sour. So smelling good so far, and we'll go from here. Cheers.